What episode is this?
233.
Okay, we are. It's a shame. That is funny, but you can't.
I know. I'm not
I had not really thought about who we're playing this weekend. I still need to buy my season ticket.
Nashville Soccer Club, Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, it's Jim Toth week.
Reese Witherspoon Albion.
Guys, it's Toth week. It's fucking Toth week. What episode is it?
235.
It's Alex!
Episode 235 from 202. It's Toth week. Or is next week going to be Toth week?
Wow, you went straight into. I didn't even expect you to start the episode.
It depends on the result.
That's true.
I mean, it's like the championship belt. I mean, take it from Toth is the motto.
I guess Nashville retains the Toth belt as they beat City last week. So City certainly does not have the Toth belt.
No chance.
Yeah, we have our chance this week, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Another piece of silverware going out of City's grasp this season.
Oh yeah, another one to add next to our Emirates Cup and La Manga Cup and the league 3 times Toth belt. But it's the New York Red Bulls' first loss of the season against Orlando City SC. 1-0. It's the 4 of us as usual, just the 4 standard ones this week. The Red Bulls lose away 1-0 in what, spiritually, I'm going to say was a very 0-0 game. But then there was the borderline handball call on Sean Nealis that separates it. Pretty weak, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
We had quite the build-up to that game ourselves, a
little
202 bonding, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 202 field day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just needed to do like a wheelbarrow race.
I just want to hard intro that to say I no longer have the worst batting average on the team on the podcast crew.
Oh, I wasn't counting.
Oh yeah?
I was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I missed every pitch.
Oh my god, at least one
damn.
hit. So
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
We did go to the batting cages as a group. Did you just need gloves or something?
I think
Is
I
that
need
the
an
key?
eye exam.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't wear my glasses, and I thought I was going to have to, but I ended up doing it.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It was also I was in the slow pitch. I didn't get out of the slow pitch cage.
Yeah.
The slow
I
pitch
should've-
was weirdly harder, as we were kind of talking about.
Yeah.
Because it was like they curved a little.
you can't get into a rhythm with that. It was
No.
always on the inside too, so you always felt like you had to you couldn't get good contact with it.
I always had a tough time in batting cages growing up, so I don't know if that just carried over, but
Interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe it is a visual thing. Maybe it's like the contrast for like the back wall is not as good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not discouraged, but I'm a little.
It made me feel more
shameful.
Korean to hit some of the balls, though.
Are you counting every contact?
I don't know if I watched one of your sessions. Do you do like the big high leg kick or whatever?
I don't
Just
know.
like-
You watch
You
me
did
more.
it.
No,
I don't know how you. It wasn't conventional, but it worked.
Right. Well, it was just like me. Like
I mean, I can't talk.
It was translating my golf swing into a moving object. Basically,
It kind of felt like that.
Yeah, I don't really
I was coming my arms out in like my golf swing.
Were you hitting
legs.
grounders?
No.
Hitting line drives?
Really, just kind of
Pop-ups?
fly fouls. Yeah.
I feel like it'd be a lot of singles, like
Yeah.
shot to shallow left and
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The medium speed pitch was frustrating because it was, well, you had to really force yourself to wait on it, but it was kind of on the outside half of the plate. So if you correctly waited on it, it hit the other way. The cage was like skewed to the right where even if you hit it well, it would go like right into the net immediately. So, it wasn't giving you the full satisfaction of spraying one into the gap. But I got a couple of my Tony Gwynn, like, perfect line drives down the middle, which is all I could ask for.
I got my timing right and hit one gapper that was pretty nice, but I don't know if this is an example of how cheap my bat is or how yoked I am, but I'm pretty sure my bat was like bent back when I was looking at it after using it for the first time ever.
Nice.
So
You were just pounding the balls.
I
out there.
guess,
Yeah.
but also I think it was just like a $20 bat that I got from Modell's when they were liquidating. But
Those plastic balls or the jugs balls are, I don't know if this is actually true, but growing up they always said they're bad for the bat, and it was good to have a batting practice bat to beat up instead
Yeah.
of a real bat.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I might have to look into a sturdier option.
This makes me want to get, instead of driving range clubs for when I go to the driving range. We were right next to what seemed like a Juventus Academy team.
Oh, yeah,
we
that's
really
right.
got a slice of life. Well, one, we really greased the palms of the Chelsea peers. Guys, we got free 30 minutes in the cage because our machine was broken. So you can just call us Mr. Deals every year, really delivering once again. But yeah, you said you saw
An altercation.
an altercation
Yeah.
between the Juventus Academy managers.
Yeah, well, it was weird. There's like this very distinguished looking, like, older, right, Sam? You were
Yeah.
there. You saw this, like, kind of like graying, like perfectly curled haired man just speaking with a thick Italian accent, seemingly from maybe like Turin, to these children to run
What
drills.
made you think he was from Turin?
Just kind of, he had
you
an
know?
an alpine-ish aura to him. Yeah.
Very Lombard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like a younger assistant who was also in full Juve gear, also Italian.
All the kids, the team's uniform was
full Juve,
literal,
yeah.
just full Juve kids.
Yeah, exactly. And then they were running drills like in the middle like of this like weird like vending machine area, right? Hallway. And like there was like another guy who's like clearly maybe related to this youth program, like wearing a t-shirt, not like full kitted up. And he was like, there was one drill where he was like, the older guy was just like, no, softer, you have to hit with less intensity or something like that to these children. And
This feels more like a Tyrolean accent, but I'm down for that.
Yeah, okay. But I have to work on my dialects. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With Eric from Wired or whatever. But he was like, oh yeah, and this guy in the t-shirt comes out and he's like, imagine if it's like 100% and like this is one, and then like he immediately gets waved off by this elder guy, like no, just like no, go away.
He was probably some like 80s Serie A player.
Yeah,
who's
probably.
Now, doing like shipping procurement.
His
here or
name is
some shit.
probably Friedrich Tedesco. And he's from Trentino,
But I think you would joke like all of these kids are probably worth like 8 million euros each.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I still have like the Plus Valenza article open on my phone to read one day. Don't understand really how it worked, but all those kids definitely worth 40 million euros easily. And actually, Todd Bowley has put in a bid on all of them.
No, they don't work for Brighton, so it doesn't really work.
True. Well, thank you for pulling us back. We had gotten dangerously far into actually talking about the match without talking about something else first. So it's good that we can keep our actual form sincerely. But the Red Bulls, yeah. This was the debut of the 4-2-2-2 re-debut, at least for
4-2-2-2-2 4.0.
yeah.
Is this the fourth season where a coach
Version-
has tried to run it?
Version S for Struper.
Is this wait? So this isn't the very first time Gerhard's run it though. I mean, I feel like we've talked about it under Gerhard before.
It's especially last year when the diamond was completely out of the picture. It was kind of the change up formation to continue the baseball theme, to kind of counter. I feel like, and I'm sketchy on this now that I'm retired from journalism, but it was a formation that was used against teams like Nashville, who played a little flatter in the back, and to give more traditional wingers easier access to the fullbacks for pressing. But now it seems like it's just plan A. So we don't know if it gets rolled out against Nashville. We don't know if it's a tactical thing or not. It seems more like it's just the standard formation now.
Yeah, and we did see Barlow and Manuel starting as the striking pair. Dante Van Zier, of course, was not suited up yet, as I guess he got here basically last week. In midfield, right behind them, we had Lewis Morgan and Lucanius. And then CCJ and Frankie Amaya rounding out the midfield. Although, I think it's safe to say from my recollection that CCJ seemed to be pivoting forward a little bit more often than Frankie did. But I guess they were kind of still playing that 8-6 hybrid role a bit, both of them. And then Cameron Harper played as the right back in this match. Everything else is pretty much as you'd expect. Our Neelis Reyes, CBs, John Tolkien, and then Coronel. Any insights, any comments on this first starting 11 from Gerhard Struber this year? Is it too early to read too much into anything? Any thoughts on the strike partnership in particular?
It's new in the way that I feel like we've had play kind of go down the middle in this this two striker link up. There's kind of a new wrinkle, I think, in the way that we can play ball centrally again. I mean, notably, we didn't have a single accurate cross that game, so it's not going to be the MO of the way we play. So, it would make sense to have kind of like two forwards who could play off each other. Barlow had that one flick on to Emmanuel that was really nice.
That was nice.
But it'll be interesting to see more of that, maybe with different personnel.
Well, I think it's interesting that, we know that Corey Burke, I guess, was not 100% fit through preseason and probably is behind on, being able to run for the full 90. So it's hard to read too much into it. But the fact that he, is not immediately featuring in the team, despite being, kind of the only veteran signing and, part of the supposed rejuvenation of the strike force is a little eye-cocking. But yeah, again, as will probably be a repetitive part of this episode, it's still just week one. So
yeah, and I was sort of surprised to see that it felt like Manuel was actually being a little bit more often the guy who was flicking on and the more reserved striker, and Barlow was running on to the ball, which is not the configuration I would have guessed. I am once again in a tough position here personally because I do not enjoy piling on players, especially ones who have been piled on before. But the fact that Tom Barlow is our starting forward in 2023 after all this time and Patrick Klimala was sold is it's a bit peculiar. I guess we had, it's cheaper to keep Barlow, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a direct comparison, but it is kind of wild that is still the first choice. Maybe Dante Van Zier slots into Tom Barlow's slot eventually. Maybe that provides a little bit more touch or finesse in a couple of the flick-ons that Manuel provided in that game. But I don't know.
Well, supposedly, we'll see what. Van Zier didn't even play in a preseason game, so we don't even have that data. But we'll see. But the scouting report on Van Zier is that he is more of the guy in the hole as opposed to playing on the shoulder, which I've mentioned in past episodes is kind of the contrast to Klimala, which will be interesting to see how that his skill set plays out, because I feel like if, Van Zier being a guy who's more about kind of short bursts as opposed to big, long runs, if, as we've been kind of talking a lot recently, if this ends up being season number 3 where Struber decides halfway through to get conservative and lock down and play long ball, Van Zier is going to be less effective than Klimala, at least in the build-up parts of that. If you want to do the big man, little man setup that is both kind of an intuitive setup for a two-striker formation and what, as Eric said last week, is what Struber seems to be kind of going for. Yeah, the fact that Barlow and Burke are going to be who we rely on for that. Burke, who has shown a little bit of, quality in the past, but is, not, fit and not in the starting 11 to start now. The fact that those two are going to be leaned on as, a big part of the strike core this year is a little odd, as Brit was saying, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Like I said, to kind of start this spiel out, I think Van Zier is maybe coming in for Manuel more likely. We'll just see how that goes. Manuel, it's now I think this is his 7th, 8th, or whatever start that he's had with the team since the end of last year, and he's only scored in one game. I mean, Klimala would have gotten destroyed for both that record and the miss that he had, in that one kind of flick on that we're mentioning against Orlando the other night. So has the strike force been rejuvenated? I think Van Zier being a wild success is the only positive answer to that question.
Yeah. There's been a bit of chatter about sort of the link-up play between Manuel and Barlow since the game, and I agree that it's kind of the one note to make about this game, because other than that, I think the story here really is continuity. I think that's the one aspect, the combination between those two is the one aspect that you can point to and say that that's something different than what we were doing in the final third last year. Other than that, this looks really similar to last year's Red Bulls so far. I'm not totally sure we see, the promises. I don't know if I saw the promises of like new ideas or ways to combine in the final third that Struber's been talking about. But it's early yet.
There were, and we all watched the game together. I mentioned it at the time that there were still, obviously the focus for creating chances is still wide overloads, and even in the midst of Struber saying and Eric's observations last week about a little bit more kind of fluidity through the middle and a little more passing buildup, at least in this game, which mind you was a road game against a fairly conservative quality team, but there were still a lot of those wide situations where the fullback or the winger, since there's traditional wingers this time, is getting the ball and then stopping.
Yes.
Guys are getting the ball and stopping, not knowing where anybody around them is. Again, it's week one. Hopefully that improves. But then again, we were also told that we just had the greatest preseason ever.
This has also been such...
Yeah, go ahead.
This has been such a consistent part of Tolkien's game in particular.
Right.
Tolkien puts his studs on the ball and like telegraphs that pass back to the center so often that it just seems, I don't know if it's an instruction or if it's just a reflex, but that to me is one of the enduring images from Saturday.
There were lots of moments like that where whoever gets the ball out wide is hesitating, doesn't know where to start combining, doesn't know if he has space to send it across, because what we were seeing also, there were more numbers forward than we've seen in the last couple years, but they were getting there before the play, happened out wide, because the play out wide was happening so slow. So you had these guys, a group of 3 or 4 guys just standing in the box, waiting for a, useless kind of no momentum cross.
Right. And that's the kind of the key of, having a narrow, maybe like a progressive team, right? That goes further up the pitch, is that when you have someone who is going to get the ball out wide, you want more numbers there to be available to do underlaps or overlaps to make those options available, right?
And the strikers weren't really doing that.
Right, and that kind of dynamicism.
The strikers were waiting in the box, which part of what's, what I think is intriguing and should be built on about Struber's past, and what we've seen from the times that there does seem to be ideas in the attacking third. It's that the strikers are peeling out wide to be an extra man for the wide players and to leave space for the midfielders to come in. This game, it was just incredibly static.
Which is curious, too, because I was looking at the post-game stats, and one of the things that stuck out to me is that we had 0 accurate crosses throughout that entire game, which...
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right. We don't have that in our wheelhouse. I think part of the reason, like, we see Tolkien always playing a little bit regressively to the center backs is because he doesn't have... that whip in Arsenal. I think he has maybe a lofty ping available for a good diagonal, but I don't think he has the cross. One of the bright spots I did think was Cam Harper playing that fullback role. I thought he was a more progressive option than Kyle Duncan in general.
Where was Duncan? Was he
injured?
He's out, right?
Yeah. And I just thought that I would like to see where Cam Harper's ceiling is, because I think we all know where Duncan's ceiling is.
Kyle Duncan never actually existed.
I don't think Harper and Duncan are competing for a spot. now that we have actual wingers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what Harper was playing as like a forward winger. It was, he was playing as a fullback to start. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was playing more advanced, but he was playing in the spot on the lineup that Duncan would have been in. Like the only place that Duncan could have fit
ahead
in.
of Dylan Nealis, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's your verdict, I guess, on that. But Dylan Nealis was kept on the team and I guess is declared usable as opposed to last year when the team was supposedly completely shorthanded, but the option of putting Pendant or Egbo on the field was not possible. Anyway, sidebar.
I saw shout out to Manny Egbo who appeared in a supercut of the Brian's Gun account, which highly recommend. Just the guy who does supercuts of like different cliches and post game interviews with usually a lovely Diane Dublin. I guess he's like on the British equivalent of HGTV over there or something. So always solid. Manny Egbo's in one of those. So congrats,
Got
Manny.
some results on the board, early doors.
Yeah, early doors. That was what it was. I also think on like the question of whipping the ball in. Like, yeah, I think Tolkien doesn't have like that kind of. That's not his preferred way to deliver the ball, but he's pretty good at like, doing nice little triangles and give and goes and combination play in the corner and as a left back. He does it every once in a while, and
I
that's
thought we saw
something
a
that feels
little bit of that too with Lewis Morgan at times, but it's also just like not enough to be really dangerous or something in the box.
While we're on the subject, might as well of fullback crossing. Obviously, didn't get enough attention, weirdly enough, but a lot of the attention was on Aaron Long leaving this offseason. But another defensive player who has really not been replaced since a pretty crippling exit last summer is Tom Edwards.
Yeah.
I mean, there's you can frame it that Duncan that Duncan coming back was the body for body replacement for Edwards, but Duncan really doesn't play the same game at fullback as Edwards and can't really be used as that kind of utility defender, third center back kind of option. And just generally, I mean, we've talked about, Edwards. I mean, obviously Edwards was in this team, he would walk into it as the best crosser probably again. But also just, kind of, even though he was a younger guy, just having a bit of an attitude and a chippiness and that, on-field leadership that is, teams maybe a little short on now, especially now that both he and Long have departed and not really been replaced with any sort of veteran presence.
Yeah, and I'd say that like the tactical, the more you described it, feeling for that replacement is Dylan Nealis, but again, he's not like
apparently not valued.
Right,
So,
but also he's not like a Premier League championship like veteran, like you're
the
saying.
weird thing about Edwards' departure as well is that the way the club handled it by like being very mum about it and just referring to it as a personal matter almost got more of the vibe of like he's being sent away. So it didn't lend itself to, the kind of commentary or reception that like, oh, that's a player we really miss. It kind of lent itself more to a player who was one of Gerhard Struber's many exiles. So it was kind of, for me, it was a reset to think about it that way, as like an actual key loss.
Either way, it's still kind of a strange one because it's either what you just said, Brit, that he was basically invited to leave, or he just voluntarily left himself.
Right. And
which flies in the face of everything we've been told about this being a team that's, incredibly bought in and all eyes on the prize.
Even if the truth is actually somewhere in between and it's sort of murky, it would behoove the club to be more proactive about presenting one of those two narratives and pick and make that your outward perception. And, because the club actually can like actively shape news and like release news when it wants to. They don't just have to only react to things. I don't know if that occurs to them every once in a while, but they can just like say things when they want. But anyway, that's getting down another rabbit hole.
Wasn't the logic that he was like having a kid and he wanted just his family to be in England?
Nah, that was the most public story we heard.
I mean.
I mean, also that's something you can just say.
Yeah.
You know. Not
No, I know, but it's like I know being like in good faith,
not
saying
intimate,
that.
family trouble and leaving it at that.
I mean,
Or, like,
players
family
have
issues.
kids all the time and don't quit their club. Like,
Yeah.
So, I mean, they did.
You
know,
could just
and-
be aggressively English.
Right, right. I mean, there's obviously we don't know the full story, and we're getting way too deep into it. But yeah, that's just kind of, that's all we're capable of doing is speculating.
I'm imagining a team.
Yeah, if you don't want us to speculate, don't let us speculate.
Right.
I'm imagining a team now with the Gutman Edwards, just like fullback partnership, and I feel like Gutman would have even been like a good like leader to have on the field that we kind of miss. I think he's already kind of playing that role in Atlanta right now, right? Different.
Yeah, that's
times.
one that got away. I mean, we did try to actually buy him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
That sounded like a weird like situation to begin with. Anyway,
I wonder if there was actually a price that we could have paid. Or because the vibe that I got from that story was that there kind of was no price.
but also probably maybe like if it was not enough for you to risk like just letting Tolkien play
Yeah.
or whatever.
They still have like Robinson at that point or whatever.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, we should put a bow on this conversation pretty soon and get back to the game. But also just like
I was going to mention that we didn't talk about, I think, is like when we talk about those overlaps on the out wide, is that like higher tier of the midfield, Luquinhas and Morgan, who I just thought like with Luquinhas in particular, I really feel like nothing's changed since the end of last season.
It is the first game back, and I'm gonna be as charitable as I can, but also it's just so frustrating that he, like Alex and I always say this, but he can't play a through ball to save his life.
Yeah.
Like just a weighted ball once would just like justify so much more to me for his inclusions. But he just hasn't contributed in enough time where it's like, it might start becoming a funk that affects itself more negatively. You know?
I mean, he was so poor on Saturday that I almost see it as like a glass half full thing where like I think he was just having like such a bad day where like his touch was just off, where I just attribute it to having a bad day rather than necessarily being like, he just doesn't fit or like that's how he is. Because I think that was a worse performance than we saw from him last year when he just more simply didn't fit. So I'm holding out. I'm cautiously optimistic that Luquinhas will improve and be better than he was this last weekend, because that was really that was below the standard he even set at the end of last year. I will say on the question of crosses, this was another game though that when it comes to us, our players in the air, we're so weird in the air. I think this might be a combination of coaching and just like the profile of players that we've signed, where we don't win anything in the air, but also we always sort of successfully defer or deter the other player from winning it. Like it seems like the main goal for us is to like disrupt the defender from heading the ball cleanly as well, and then like wait for the ball to bounce once before doing anything. And it leads to this really weird, ugly scrapping around whenever the ball comes up and down. So maybe that like it feels like we're almost avoiding trying to cross the ball too much because we know that we aren't actually going to try to head it in on goal. I think we had a couple of headed on goals last year off of set pieces, but it outside of Reyes, I don't know if it's really been a strong suit of this team.
And Long was scoring most of those also.
True, yeah. And I'm sure this also felt like another game where I'm sure our pressing numbers were good on paper, but it didn't even feel necessarily like we were like Struber's teams have never visibly or really just felt like that intense of a pressing team compared to previous iterations.
There were moments in the
Red
first. There were moments in the first half against Orlando where I think the two strikers were kind of causing problems for Orlando's build up from the back.
Yeah.
And just generally, they're just simply being more traffic and more numbers in that part of the field kind of created the chaos that the team thrives on. And I think that's where a lot of the chances came from. But in the second half, it tapered off a little bit, which is kind of standard for week one, but also a little bit underwhelming, as we'll keep saying all year, which is year 3 of this project. So
Yeah. On the plus side, Orlando had absolutely nothing. which,
and
I
Orlando's
think,
a good team. Like,
Yeah.
and it was on the road. I mean, even though we won there last year, or not in the cup, obviously, but
yeah. I mean,
But they also didn't really have much reason to create once the penalty happened.
the penalty was, but
penalty was kind of late though.
penalty was kind of late.
In the first half.
No,
No, it wasn't.
second half.
It was in the second half?
Yeah.
No, I totally misremembered the game then.
Classic. We're back. We're back.
I thought it was like in the 20th minute. That's why I thought we suffered so much. Never mind.
You looked at that and you thought that's not salad. No, dude, it must be salad. Fucking
It
fool.
was salad
Idiot.
all the time.
Yeah, Orlando created absolutely nothing. That was their only shot, I think, period. So, one thing we know is that this iteration of the Red Bulls, this regime of the Red Bulls, is good at sort of suffocating play out, except for that month last year where we were giving up 5 goals every game. But other than that, it is a very good way of like clogging up the opposing team and kind of just turning it into an ugly slog of a game. So, points for that. And I think it's also, this game, though, is sort of an object lesson of you can get decently far doing that, but you still run the risk of having something shitty and borderline like this handball call go against you and having the game in the ref's hands, which is not my ideal way to approach the game. When you don't really dictate yourself on the game and control the game, you will always be vulnerable to a weird or unfortunate or unlucky or bad decision, however you want to rule it. Putting the game out of your control.
If you're relying on the ref to be perfect, then you've already lost. I mean, that's sports. I mean, you have to win the game on your terms if you don't want the ref to make the decision.
Yeah.
I also didn't necessarily think, we were really knocking as much as a team that's really like controlling a game that went against them a little bit, like we weren't making clear-cut chances every like 5 minutes or anything.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I can think of really only 2 chances that felt really threatening. One was the flick on from Barlow to Manuel. The other one was, I guess, to revise a previous statement of mine, like it was a result of pressing up the field and in Orlando's final third. And I think it was either Luquinhas or Frankie who had the ball kind of at the top of the box and had an option out left and like had 2 different runners. And I think this was a clear-cut chance where it's like it just feels like we've never practiced being in the final third at all.
Luca made a graphic on Twitter about this, I think.
Oh, okay.
About this sequence. But like obviously the play, I mean, like if we get that ball a little earlier, I feel like the safe play, honestly, is to play a ball over the top, but we played every ball on the ground, it seemed like, that game.
Why? From my memory, like sliding a ball out to the left on the ground would have been...
I mean, if it was earlier too, but
Yeah.
yeah. But playing someone in behind, like we never really tried that, despite the fact that it seemed like Tom Barlow was able to get behind their line a few times, but...
He was pretty visibly frustrated throughout the game with the service.
Yeah, I mean, he was making runs.
Yeah.
His head was on a swivel, though. He knew the ball was heading his direction, but it looked like he was constantly looking for it. Like he could not get its trajectory down.
Yeah. The other chance I think that I thought was noteworthy was the shot Morgan had.
Just right at the keeper.
Yeah.
Right.
The chances, I think that was like, if we're going to like have another Lewis Morgan like banger goal to like help us win a game like that would have been the one.
That way, I mean, that chance was a lot like the one that he scored against Orlando in the Cup before the collapse last year.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, a point to start the season would have been nice. I can't really say we deserved 3.
And just, in the context of the young season now, it's not, like I said earlier, it's not a disaster of a result. I mean, I kind of was saying last week on this show that Orlando is a team that, they would need to beat to prove that this is better than last year. But, it's not the end of the world to drop this result. If they continue to drop results like this, then it's just going to be another mediocre season. But in week 1, it's a pretty solid, not ideal obviously, but solid little outing on the road.
Yeah,
I mean, last
my
week
assessment from this is that this is 90% of the team from last year.
Yeah.
And they played like 90% of the team from last year.
Right.
And last year's team was a 4th place team. And last year's team was also a team that Gerhard Struber said, you're a fucking moron if you expect that we're going to win.
Right.
So,
I mean, I was saying last week, though, also, like, the margins were really tight. We could have been contending for the Shield at some point last year.
No, you're stupid. You're literally stupid.
Yeah, right.
Gerhard Struber went on the radio and said you're stupid.
But like
on the radio,
it's
like it's the 1950s.
It's but
He talked into a big ass mic with the Soggy Bottom Boys. Sorry, go on.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, I lost my train of thought. But
the margins are thin.
right, the margins are thin. Like if a couple of results, like this went our way last year, we could have been having a totally different conversation about, how we feel about Gerhard Struber as a coach, honestly. But like these are the differences in moments of a good team and a mediocre team, right? Is getting over these humps. I worry that this is not just a speed bump, but maybe an omen, and I really hope it's not. But like the worry is that this is a carryover from last year, the inability to get over kind of these thin margin games that didn't go our way necessarily.
I feel like Orlando's going to be like a 50 to 60 point team this year, though.
Yeah,
like
no, I agree.
If not more. I mean, I don't know. But
we also didn't have play that warrant us to get a win away from home.
I think like Cork said earlier, like they were organized and competent, but while we were watching the game, Cork also commented that this looks like a team who's never played in the final third with each other.
Right.
Which gives me some hesitation that, later in the season, some teams might. By that same penchant, we might also look more fluid in the final third in a couple weeks from now. I don't know. But continuity is really the theme for me this week.
I mean, the continuity is what, has been pushed from, Struber and the team. And yeah, well, we also believe it's continuity.
Yeah.
If you thought last year was great, then
which Gerhard Struber
hop on
didn't.
board. Yeah.
I mean, I guess Struber thought it was great given what he was given. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I think that sums up Orlando pretty well. As we said at the top, it's Toth week now. Nashville SC is coming to town. Back in the East, right? After their one season in the West.
Reese and Jim Toth they were the main petitioners for that change. They did not want to be stuck out west away from the big bright lights and big cities.
Yeah. Nashville really did want to copycat us by having a season where they might be Western Conference champions or something.
Right.
Taking all of our best players.
They realized it was not chill to be, colonizing out west, to be Manifest Destiny. They wanted no part of the Austin sound. They had to go with their, ritzy, overproduced, very round Nashville stuff. Because, guys, did you hear Johnny Cash himself was fucking there? Johnny Cash.
Famed Nashville SC Ultra Johnny
Cash and wife support Nashville FC. Quote, let's go. That's what happened. So,
I'm just waiting for the Jim Toth jersey. One of these years, we're going to finally get it. Adidas is finally going to come to its senses.
Can I get a Toth and Cash jersey? Like, with an ampersand in the middle? Why
let's go on the collar inside.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know why. You reminded me of that like Facebook meme. It's like, oh, no jobs, no cash or whatever.
Yeah. No Toth.
No Toth.
We still have Toth.
Thankfully.
No, you're thinking of No Hope as well.
I don't remember the meme.
It's Bob Hope. Like a decade ago, we had Bob Hope, Steve Jobs, and Johnny Cash. And now we only have Jim Toth. That's all I need, baby. And we have Doug too, as well. So Nashville comes to town. They're I don't know. I guess they're supposed to be decent, but they
got pretty much the same team that they've had for 3 years now.
Yeah, we caught the end of their game against City, and that was a real tour of guys. Like, do you guys remember Sean Davis? I didn't. It was kind of weird to see him. I was like, oh, okay.
Dax McCarthy.
Yeah.
He's innocent.
Yeah, he's just a normal man. Wow, a real forerunner. And Alex Muyl, also, that was a real tour down memory lane. Pleased to see that City also losing to start the year, but they lost by more, which feels apropos. But I think this will be a good test in a similar mold as Orlando, a team that you have to expect will show up and play competently and not make a ton of mistakes and not give the game away, and might require a little bit of skill to break down. I think this could be a good barometer for the Red Bulls trying to establish themselves in the pecking order early on in the season. What do you guys think? What do you expect to get out of this based off of our performance in a similar sort of matchup this last week against Orlando?
Is Van Zier potentially going to be in the 18? Is that
I would expect it, but there hasn't been any official statement one way or the other.
He's going to start with Burke, obviously, next week.
Yeah. Well,
Burke and Omir?
Yeah, Van Zier and Omir will be the new starting partnership inexplicably for like a month.
We did get Omir minutes.
Man, we really like across different regimes, we really like signing someone like 2 weeks before the season and then having it be like a question mark for like 6 weeks for like when are they actually going to play. I don't know why. There's not even a single person I can blame this time. I don't know. I mean, the Van Zier thing was rumored for a while. I don't know.
Yeah, it took like a month to get it locked down, but like you said, going back to Kaku is, the big stick out. But then, last year with Luquinhas and Fletcher, obviously 2021 was chaotic just to get guys in through COVID. And then I'm trying to we're like Pendon and Egbo. They weren't like in the mix by the time. Well, Jensen started with his hat in game one in that season, but
I guess Klimala himself too, and then Andres Reyes.
Klimala was more mid-season, like he was summer window.
Yeah,
but
and then Reyes also, because like
Reyes was fit, but just not trusted until Long's injury,
right? Yeah. Or like Long went down, and then it like took 2 months to introduce Reyes into the squad for some reason. But yeah, I don't know. Do you expect to see 4-2-2-2 again? Would you expect do you want similar personnel?
I think both based on the kind of setup that they've gone with through preseason in game one, and that they've generally played Nashville against that in 2021 last time they saw them that way, because Nashville kind of a pretty conventional flat 2 lines of 4 team, and or at least in the back it's just a flat 4, and like I was kind of explaining earlier, they want to have shorter distances to get to their fullbacks. So a 4-2-2-2 or a 4-4-2 is pretty intuitive against Nashville to begin with. And I mean, Van Zier is obviously the big question mark of whether he finally gets to have a go. But, we'll see what happens up top, whether there's even if Van Zier's not ready, whether there's a voluntary move with a new body up there besides Manuel or Barlow. And then going further back, I guess we will see whether there will be kind of a rotation in central midfield. We didn't really see Drew Yearwood against Orlando. And then Yearwood might have been injured, if I'm remembering correctly, or it might have been on the report.
It does say that on FotMob.
But then, so then I guess we'll have Yearwood, maybe Duncan.
Edelman?
I mean, we'll see. Peter Stroud, we didn't touch on Peter Stroud.
He looked good.
Making a little cameo against Orlando, which, I thought he looked, I mean, obviously it's one game and one sub appearance. We need to, see a kind of a broader body of work, but I thought in that one game he looked, to make a lazy comparison, like kind of a sharper, more sturdy Edelman. So we'll see how that blossoms.
Well, this season I'm boarding all the hype trains like I did for this season, I guess, and then promptly got disappointed a little bit. But, keeping my high expectations up.
His demeanor also kind of reminded me of that very first game Drew came in 2020, where he was like, come on, guys, let's get up. He seemed to have a little bit more fire underneath him, which is promising, I guess. I mean, it doesn't hurt to see it. That also reminds me that this was our first week watching on Apple TV. and the commentators, I mean, it's different. I enjoyed having something different. I'll say that. But the commentators were funny in their own way, that because they did introduce Peter Stradnoy there, was noteworthy, but it reminded me the general pattern was that they would keep on describing things as being like really clever, really genius, like mostly for Orlando, but also us. But it was like not partisan enough to really annoy me, but they'd keep on being like, wow, just look at the way that Facundo Torres is he's dribbling the ball here. He's placing the ball so it's about a couple feet in front of his feet, and then he'll knock it forward so then he can run onto it. It's just a really smart move. And I'd be like, I mean, I guess you're not wrong, but okay.
It happens in every soccer game.
Yeah, they're like, oh, look at this. So he's like positioning himself so the other player can't get to the ball. Real smart move by Orlando right there. I'm like, all right, whatever works for you. So I guess I won't be listening to Apple TV this weekend since we'll be there in person. But I've got my ears tuned in to see if they're all going to be like this.
The local, so they had like the different language options in the bottom, and then one was like for local broadcast, and I clicked that like from my computer, and it went silent. Like it was silent. There was no.
I think there were some hitches with that,
which is great. That was a great experience. It was just like stadium atmosphere, no commentator.
They should give that as an option.
Amazing.
We should have a feed. Tim Apple,
You mean us?
Just our microphone should be linked to Apple TV right here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just hook it up. I mean, BMS is working on the contracts.
Yeah, exactly. That's our business development team. But it's funny because there were so many like opening day hitches, particularly with audio mixing. They need to get a single compressor in their mix setup. But my favorite part was that they had this one like interstitial bumper that like was the Apple TV logo for MLS or whatever, but it was like 1 pixel too small so you could see the edges.
Oh yeah, you could see like the crop out.
Yeah.
Like you could see like little white strips.
Like you guys kept on mentioning this, and I might have just been looking away every time, and I still don't know what you're talking about. Though.
It's like because it would disappear, and you'd realize those pixels that were on the outside of the graphic were just from whatever was playing.
Yeah,
it
was not filling up the whole screen.
Oh, maybe that was intentional.
It looks pretty janky.
Yeah, it did not look intentional.
And I also didn't like that their little like little whoosh like bumper thing to switch
has
from
sound.
camera shot. Well, not only has sound,
like
but it like it puts the screen to all black for like a third of a second. Or
it really
whatever.
tests if you have a good TV or not.
I guess. Like,
I opened up my phone to see that I was on the Wikipedia page for John Lovitz. I was like, how did I end up here? And it was because I was looking at Nashville Squad, and I was like, oh, is Dan Lovitz
related to John Lovitz?
His dad? And I went to the personal life tab, and it's got a surprising amount of detail of Lovitz's criticism of Obama and cancel culture.
nice.
Still don't know if he's Dan Lovitz's dad, but.
This is funny because Brit and I had also gotten.
John Lovitz is on cancel culture.
Yeah.
No, I thought you said Daniel Lovitz is.
No.
It's like, damn, he must be chirpy. Like,
Daniel Lovitz has no personal life or controversy section on his Wikipedia yet.
Yeah, that'll change this week.
I'll confirm for the listener that this is what Brit's usually like. We were getting drinks with an old friend of ours earlier this week, and he had opened this one. It was just a picture of Lori Lightfoot. I don't remember which Lori Lightfoot picture.
Oh, it was just on
just like when you open your phone.
No, he was describing a new local character in DC.
Oh, yes, this was Creatine Chris.
Yeah, Chris got something with a G. Geldhart.
Yes, our friend had Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah, it's good to have just a photo like that lurking in one of your tabs to like keep you on your toes, scare you. I should just keep a photo of Bearded Reyes to calm me at all times, to soothe me that there's no reason to be upset.
I have a heart-shaped locket with Bearded Reyes. You didn't get that as the preseason gift from BMS? He sent it to all of us.
I had it actually implanted into my brain with the Neuralink. Yeah, that's they did that. They implanted that on 100 chimps, and they all just wouldn't stop weeping with joy. Oh man.
I'm sorry,
about that.
I just got very involved with the John Lovitz Wikipedia page as well. And my contribution to the stew is that apparently his childhood best friend was Lisa Kudrow's brother.
Wow,
Wow.
the
So
fucking nepo babies all over
yeah,
the place.
it's a small club, and you're not in it.
Man, they really mentioned Phil Hartman a lot on this stage. All right. Well,
John Lovitz, let's go. The LA Galaxy John Lovitz jersey will be coming eventually.
I heard someone, even though the game got canceled, someone got stabbed in the parking lot of the Rose Bowl because they were feuding over Lovitz was LAFC or Galaxy territory. Parking lots, they just make people feel a certain way. Well, anything else to say about this game against Nashville? How are you feeling to return to the stadium on Saturday? I still have to buy my season ticket.
I'm like honestly a little. I guess it's like very much my mood has been very much dependent on this result that came out. But like I was feeling kind of hyped, but now I'm feeling kind of worried that if we lose, it might start a spiral. But hopefully we have good energy. I
don't think it's gonna spiral. I just think it's gonna be salad.
Yeah, but I don't like salad all the time.
Yeah, but it's not starving, you know?
Yeah, okay. But, it's like, I don't think the home opener is going to be electric, in terms of like, at least, and I hate talking about this necessarily, but like, it is going to be like 40 degrees and cold, and we're going to be
Right.
out there,
That's always kind of what, the uphill battle and opening day in New York.
Right. But I mean, like, I hope we win. I just hope we win at home again. But I'm worried that we won't for a while is my take right
Burning take.
now. I know. So hot.
Yeah, the most continuity result, would be drawing. If we get a 1-1 draw, that would have me back here next week saying the same thing of like, yeah, it's like kind of like last year. 1-0 loss would have me being, maybe a little bit more concerned. Well, not even concerned. I would still probably be like, yeah, I don't know. It feels
Must
like
be
last
salad.
year. Yeah. I looked at it, saw it said salad. You know the rest. So I, it'll be interesting to see if the urgency or whatever, increases, if there's a little bit more creativity, if there's an apparent difference with how we play away versus, at home. I think the team has commented on that a little bit. Struber has eventually got around to commenting on that. I think he was somewhat complimentary towards Orlando's crowd, kind of implying that we should make sure to get a good crowd. I don't know if it's going to happen for reasons stated, but it'll be, in that sense, maybe an indicator. Test feels too high stakes. An indicator of whether this team is able to build up some hype and stakes for itself, even if it is a 40-degree day in the beginning of March, with not too much on the line. So I don't know. I would love to see a tap in goal. That's actually good. That's maybe this is going to be my new litmus test. Like, when am I going to see the first tap in goal for the Red Bulls this year?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah.
Did we have a tap in goal last year?
Shit. I mean,
We probably have like a messy one.
you
at some
really
point,
got to
right?
kind of comb it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good little litmus test there.
Didn't Klamala have one? It was like chaotic in the box. I mean, you can barely call it a tap in, but there was like something at the foot of the goal line.
Yeah, it wasn't like build off run the play. I don't think if
I
it
thought it
was
was
tap in.
yeah.
It was just like some kind of chaos.
There was there was the game against Miami where here's a name some of the older Red Bulls fans might remember, Caden Clark, where he kind of ended up in the back post and he had to hit it kind of hard. It wasn't really a tap in, but that's like the closest range goal that I can remember
Yeah.
from like late last year.
Was one of the goals against Montreal sort of tap in ish?
That was where Caceres fed Morgan through, and he had to kind of like just carry it up and flipped it over the keeper.
Yeah, it still was sort of a quality finish.
Right.
So I would even
It was
expand.
yeah, the point, yeah, and just to kind of like, spell out the exercise for the listeners. I mean, it's just kind of tap and goal as a symbol of the team carving out a chance.
Yeah.
And scoring, deliberately, as opposed to just some freak golazo that Morgan took a rip from 20, 30 yards, which was a surprisingly high percentage of the scoring last year.
And Lucanius for a second there too.
Right.
And I will even accept like an expansive definition of tap in where like even just a ball where it's like a cutback and it still requires a bit of skill to get your foot on it to just like redirect it on a goal. I'll even take that, doesn't have to just be something super, like it doesn't have to be a sitter per se, but even just like a cutback, get contact on it nice into the frame. Let's see if that happens.
Some sitters would be nice though too.
Yeah.
I realized why I was so anxious too was because I've been watching a lot of Chelsea, and that has made me realize that there might be a scenario where results have no consequences, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Garrett Struber would be a good Chelsea manager because, like, this guy is a guy who can finish 10th. He will finish 10th for you. Honestly, like, if you were looking for somebody to make sure you don't get relegated, fantastic candidate.
I would love to imagine Gerhard Struber standing in front of, like, Hakim Ziyech telling him not to make any
I think
attempts.
he could do it.
That's
Also, looks like Everton is doing well with Sean Dyche now, but, like... That could be a candidate too. The reunion, most unlikely reunion.
Well, I was saying like Jesse was too chicken to become the new Big Sam. I feel like the Premier League is due for a new relegation specialist.
That's true. Isn't Neil back though? Neil Warnock.
Oh,
who did he come back for?
He's who did he?
It might be a championship club.
It is a championship club.
He's we need a top tier relegation specialist.
Oh, Huddersfield. Yeah.
Of course.
Huddersfield, which was funny because I was obsessed with their asshole coach who they hired and did poorly before that.
Whatever firm is managing Neil's Twitter account should start taking over more Twitter accounts. Gerhard should really ask about whoever's doing that for him. I think he'd really benefit from that because it's working on me like a charm. Any other thoughts about Nashville? I mean, do you even want to hazard a prediction of any sort? Any vibe, desires, wishes, predictions? Anything like that? No.
There's going to be the promo is a beanie hat.
Beanie hat.
I'll have to get there like 3 hours early. Then
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Oh, is it going to be...
It's reversible, right? The beanie?
John?
One of them's Nashville colors. Seriously.
You're right.
But
Oh, yeah, we did see the kits for the first
They
time.
look worse on TV.
I don't mind.
I'm
They're
coming
growing on me a little bit,
Yeah.
and they look better far away.
Like
but-
I just hate when things have like a pattern and then clearly like the base color like right next to it as a big block. It just that kind of like detail bothered me. But
From a distance, I don't mind them as much because you can't really see the smear, and I'm okay with that. And then I actually like the like highlighter yellow slowly growing on me. I don't know.
I wish it was a less dehydrated piss color or a more dehydrated piss
when
color.
you can't see
Do
all
you want
the
like deeper, darker?
Yeah, because I'm used to Chelsea yellow,
Sure.
like, right? So it's
I
like,
don't think modeling ourselves after Chelsea.
Yeah,
should
would
be
you
the
also
goal,
like
but
for
also-
it to be like a rectangular red thing with a yellow cutout in the middle and a swastika in the middle? Is that what you would prefer? Huh?
wow, I didn't think you'd take it that Reddit on me.
Do you want to wear fucking SS uniforms while we're at it? Anyway.
No, but I think it looks better. It looks better far away where you're not seeing all the busy like lines and blue and red mixing together and all that. When it looks like just like a big yellow kit, it's not that bad from far away. And point stands that should it continue to grow more on me, I think it will kind of do that on the back of being a more kind of like street wearable kind of shirt. So
Also, if we win while wearing it,
yeah,
that'll help. I do wonder if
we
we're
like
gonna
we
make
like
a
the
point.
glitch kit, God forbid, before all hell broke loose.
I didn't. I never liked the glitch kit.
Well, I'm excited to pick up my Manolo Sanchez 17 yellow kit on Saturday. You can get a new version of your Ben Mines kit.
Yes, that's true. Finally time to update.
Yeah. Do you think Ben Mines is aware of Ben Mines Stan? He has to be.
He has to be, right?
I wonder if he ever checks in to be like, what's going on with him?
If he doesn't get internet at this point, right?
I mean, he might not get internet. He might.
He's the James Harden of MLS.
No, he just might be like on some advanced Zoomer stuff where he like only gets Snapchat, which is not internet.
That's true.
To be clear, in my views. Anything else?
Let's go, Jim Toth.
Yeah, I want the Toth
Toth
title.
week starts now.
Yeah,
The title of Toth.
the Book of Toth. Oh, that's a thing. That's an actual thing. Fuck. All right, it's Toth week. Let's go.
It's Alex!